What's up, everybody? It's Chad. I'm back again for this week's episode of #Grassy I know I've blessed y'all with a couple episodes this week. I'm with my friend Brandon McCormick. I've known this guy for a long time. Thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me on the show. It's wonderful to be on finally. Seeing you guys get a big following and continue growing.
Yeah, appreciate it, man. Yeah, it's going and growing. You know, I try to keep people in the know, and I guess people like that. So we'll continue on with it. You know. So yeah, but thank you again for joining me, man. You know, like I said, I've known Brandon for years. I think closer to 10 years now, to be honest, man. Like I go back to the medical days in my mind, and there's not many times I don't remember you there.
Yeah, I know. I think I was thinking about it when I was thinking about how long I've been in the industry for, and just as a patient, I think I was there since like 2012, 2013, something like that. So I'm sure I saw you shortly after, and that definitely pulled through.
Yeah, we became patients around the same time, so that makes sense. And, you know, just anytime I would be at an event, you would be there, or et cetera, or whatever. You know, it was always cool seeing you. You know, seeing you
Heck yeah.
or you know, places that you'd work in and stuff. So for the people who don't know who you are and may not know, do you mind giving us a little bit of down low who you are?
Yeah, of course. So obviously, like you said, my name is Brandon McCormick. I've worked with a few different dispensaries in New Mexico in my like cannabis days and stuff like that. I went to NMSU, got my degree in horticulture over there, just bachelor degree. And yeah, that's where I kind of met Chad over, and that's where I met a big part of the advocacy group that was happening back in Las Cruces at the time. And I think that's where these roots kind of started with this show. And that's more or less who I am and where I've kind of come from, gotten here.
Dope, man. Yeah. Where are you from originally? I never asked.
Originally, I was actually born and raised in El Paso, Texas. And then I moved over to Las Cruces for the bachelor in horticulture at NMSU. And then I was there for about 8 years or so. And then I moved over to Albuquerque from there.
Yeah, yeah. So it was around legalization or when adult sales started, you moved, I guess.
That's when I moved to Albuquerque, yeah.
Got it. Yeah, yeah.
When I was in Cruces was, a little after 2014 to like 2020.
Yeah, and I think that's around the time we met and everything. So yeah, that's interesting. And I never knew you're from El Paso. And I thought about where the hell is he from? I never asked.
Yeah, I mean, the tall white guy from El Paso with the last name McCormick, it's not really, people don't usually put that together type of thing.
Right. Especially when you had long hair,
Yeah.
Really, yeah.
Look more native than anything.
Yeah. I thought you were a native guy from the res or something.
Yeah, for sure.
Wasn't gonna question it. But when did you get started? Like, so what year did you start in the cannabis industry here? Like, working for a dispensary?
So I think as a patient, I started in like 2016, 2015, somewhere in there. And then as an employee, I was working like retail areas in Las Cruces in 2018, around that time.
Yeah, because I remember seeing you around every time I'd, hop into a dispensary or something. And you remember I used to do the reviews and stuff. You remember the old advocacy?
Oh yeah, no, I even remember you at City Hall back when I was working the audio board for the City Hall meetings, and I remember that one meeting where the mayor, I forget his name, Ken something, was trying to like deny it and veto it, and everybody else was like, "Come on, man!" Like it's just when rec was hitting, I think, or something like that.
Yeah, it was. I think 24-hour sales, I think, is what it was. He was the only one against it.
Yeah, that was crazy times, though. Crazy times.
Yeah, crazy times. Funny. Yeah, I forgot you worked for the city for a little bit. When I saw you, I was like, "Oh, what's up, dude?" Yeah, I was always seeing you at the random places. Dude.
I know, little known
spots. Yeah,
little talent. I was doing like concerts and stuff like that, so that's how I kind of got into that world as well.
Dang, man! So you're doing all kinds of stuff at the time. I guess when you're going to college, you kind of have to,
Yeah, for sure. Especially in this economy, gig economy, as we call it, right?
Yeah, definitely. You're better off contracting these days in the cannabis industry, really. So what drove you to like really stick around in the industry? I saw you graduated from NMSU. Was the plan to stay in cannabis the whole time?
That was kind of like the college dream. Everybody kind of wanted to get into their favorite type of field. And once I got into there, I obviously saw some of the, lesser known details that maybe there's corporations that are kind of taking over and like trying to like cut out people's best interests or stuff like that. And that kind of deterred me for a little while. But honestly, seeing the drive and the impact that the patients and the customers have on the market as a whole is just astounding to me. Like seeing the impact, like for instance, you guys are more in like the hash, rosin, solventless kind of market and stuff like that. And seeing that drive for people wanting solventless and like hash rosin and stuff like that go up and influence the factors and the numbers for it all. Because back then, distillate was, the way to go. Everybody was getting distillate. It's so cheap. You can make a ton of different products with it type of thing. But seeing that market being driven in whichever direction that it does because of the customers and the patients, that's what keeps me motivated and striving through it.
Dope, man. Yeah, and you have the similar kind of drive that I do. I've always noticed that. You've always kind of kept it on the industry side, which I can respect, because we have to have people, stay on the industry side to make sure the industry is going right.
For sure.
Yeah, so that's one thing I've always respected of you. You've always been a part of the industry of that front. Always been working with it. So yeah,
trying to make it as best I can. Do the best with what you got, type of thing, right?
Yeah. So when did your cannabis use start? When you were younger?
Yeah, I think I started back in early days of high school. So 2009, probably late middle school. So I was in 8th or 9th grade, something like that. Yeah. And that's when my cannabis use first started. It didn't really go full ham until I was more in college. I didn't really get super into dabs or higher end concentrates and stuff like that. But yeah, that's more or less when it started, back when I was in El Paso, Texas. So it was a very fun time with all of that jazz.
Yeah. And Texas is another animal. New Mexico, we didn't have legal cannabis then anyway, but Texas is a total different animal when it comes to that. Especially
for sure.
These days are kind of looking out for people coming from the New Mexico side. Sometimes I feel, just to try to get somebody popped. It's kind of unfortunate. So, but yeah,
unfortunately.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So yeah, you're a longtime consumer and stuff. Yeah, because I never knew that either. It's something I like to ask people. Because I started in middle school. I got in trouble by my dad. He turned into Sergeant Lozano because I got caught. But
oh dang, military home too.
Yeah, military home. Yeah. But what's funny is he grows weed now, and I smoke with him. So
nice.
Part about it. Yeah. So times change things.
Yeah, literally all of my family. I got kicked out at one point when I was in high school because I was smoking weed and stuff like that. And now they're all like, "Oh wow, look at you! You're doing it with the big business and stuff like that, and you have a career with it." And they're all super ecstatic and just kind of reverse the other direction.
Yeah, it's crazy when you treat it like an actual commodity or just a regular crop. How people treat it. It's just another business.
For sure, yeah.
And speaking of, what made you move up north? There was so much popping off down here. Was there some kind of thing that pulled you up there?
Well, for the most part, it was actually just the amount of companies that were there. Like I said, I kind of got deterred when I first went into the industry because, I was working for Ultra Health, let's say, and Pure Life and a couple others that, maybe don't have the best reputation for one reason or another. And some of those aspects kind of deterred me for a little bit. So I came up here to the north ultimately to find more different types of dispensaries or different types of jobs out here for different companies. And ultimately, I wanted to try to find a good company that I could actually make a career with, that I wanted to build a career with, because as you know, there's so many different tactics that people use and undercut their employees or just don't give them the proper resources or all kinds of different stuff that could happen with it. But thankfully, I found a good company out here, and that's ultimately what caused me to move up north. Back then, too, it was pre-rec in 2020. So things were about to happen down there and everybody knew it was coming, but things weren't quite happening at the time that I moved. It was in August of 2020.
Okay. So, wow. Yeah, we legalized 4 months after that.
Yeah, I think it actually fully went into effect there a few months after.
Yeah, because 2021, if you guys didn't know, is actually when we passed legalization, and then it took effect that June of 2021. Adult sales didn't start till 10 to 8 months later. So I give it to the CCD. They literally had, by the time they got everything together to them, they had 8 months to set up a program, set up rules, and get everybody going. And I give it to them. They got it done fast. Within a couple months, they had the websites up, they had the system up, they had the system for putting into for your licensing and stuff, and that's not easy. So give them that. That was quick. I mean, Arizona, their turnaround was even quicker. I think they voted, I believe in November or something like that, and then I think in January or February they were selling. So it was pretty quick for them too. Yeah, it was quick for them. I don't know how they did it. Their thing's totally different than ours, of course. But for those of you out there who didn't know, 2021 is actually our date of cannabis legalization. Adult sales didn't start until 2022. Some people forget that sometimes, or mistaken the dates.
Yeah, and with the constantly changing rules that were coming at the beginning there, it was just insane to keep up with. They had to have a whole tab dedicated on their website just so the new rules that were coming out, and people would be reaching out like, does this apply still? Does this apply still?
Right. And that was kind of a mess. Yeah. So, I'm glad
but they got through it.
That.
Yeah, they got through it.
Yeah, 100%. So what's your role now? And actually, who do you work for now? Let's ask that.
So I work for Outlaw Extracts. We're like a sister company of High Desert Relief. We do all of their lab extracts as well as the kitchen edible side of High Desert Relief. And I'm the lab director for Outlaw. So I run the lab. It's a hydrocarbon lab at the moment, and we do have distillate capabilities, but we're just doing BHO and stuff like that.
Yeah. Cool, man. So, you're still on the extract side and all that.
Yeah.
You ever need some, some rosin, let me know.
Oh, definitely. We're trying to get into the game ourselves. Do you have a company out there that you're making rosin that you're pressing with?
So I was working with the Cruces Craft guys. We recently, me, Josh, and Jeff, and Cozy, we all went on our own and we're starting our own thing. So we're going to be doing that soon. Off camera, I'll tell you all about it. I'll give you some information. But yeah, here's a little sneak peek for everybody watching. Yeah. Keep on the lookout. I'm going to be giving an announcement here soon.
Fantastic.
Heck yeah. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. But yeah, we're still in it and everything, I'm still doing it and all that. So let's talk about, Outlaw Extracts, and congratulations on your position, by the way. That's pretty dope. So when did that occur? Because, they're part of High Desert, but, were they before legalization, or was it kind of a post thing?
So yeah, it was a post legalization decision. And that's just, once these legacy producers are, once they get into this rec market, they see how the market matures and they see how, okay, now we need to have our own distillate. We can't have this third party company processing for us. We need to be able to process ourselves, or we need to have our own live resins or our own waxes that we could sell instead of just going through these third parties. And that's really the only way most of these bigger brands are going to survive in this more mature market, with prices falling, with the saturation of all of these people to be able to take the business and move it in various directions. So that's pretty much what my bosses had came to me and asked me, if I was able to do something like that, because I was the only one at our company who had done any extractions. I had a little 1 pound closed loop system, my own personal system at home, just blasting away basically on the weekends. And so they were like, hey, do you think we could set something like this up here and kind of get this going? And, I told them, yeah. And eventually we started building the system, getting all of the pieces of equipment together, and then building out the pod and everything that we have now.
Nice. So,
and yeah, you said you checked out our Instagram, so you saw a bunch of our equipment and like the process for when we were, putting down the concrete and getting the lab container onto the pad that we had built and all that jazz. Yeah, it's a cool little experience to watch. I followed the page too, by the way. I was like, I'm not following it. What the hell? Oh, fantastic. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I think you gave me a sticker a while back. I think it was you. I'm not sure. Because I had an Outlaw Extract sticker, and I remember it because when I saw the logo, I was like, I had that sticker. I was
nice.
Like, who gave it? I was like, I think Brandon gave that sticker to me.
Nice. Good.
Because I remember you telling me in the early days about it and everything. I think I ran into you somewhere. Oh, you know what? I think it was at Lucky Leaf. I think I ran into you at Lucky Leaf.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I ran into you Lucky Leaf, and we were talking about it, and I think that's when you gave me the sticker. So that would make more sense.
Yeah, we finally got the image. The brand actually looks really good. We finally got it going.
Ah, dope, man. I have to pick up a shirt from y'all. Kind of a shirt whore these days with everything, so I love it.
Yeah, well, when I get to go catch up with you, maybe 7:10, like you were saying.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, 7:10, we'll catch up. I might be up in Albuquerque, so I think I might be like for sure up there, dude, because it sounds like it's going to be a good time. I've never spent 7:10 in Albuquerque, so might as well. Fuck it.
Good. Yeah, you should come up, see the sights.
Heck yeah, man. So, are you guys located in the same area as High Desert Relief? Because I've been there a couple times, just as a patient back in the day when we were medical. If you guys didn't know, they are from the medical days. I think they opened in 2010. I think is their inception year. Yeah. So they've been around since 2010. So is the extraction facility near the dispensary, or is it a total different location?
So it's near their grow facility, because that's where we get most of our supplies from and stuff like that, our products that we extract for them and stuff like that. And we are carried, all of our products are in the High Desert stores as well, but we are working on wholesaling to get to like Cruces or various other cities that we don't have stores in.
Yeah.
As well as, we're trying to offers services for processing, BHO or bud into distillate or various other things like that.
Yeah, dope, man. And that's something that, in the state that you need, because, for the longest time, we were used to just, a couple of companies, like Farmers being one. When we're medical, that was one of few companies that were actually out there, able to extract. So, now that there's more people getting provided, because there's a lot more farmers now, which is great.
Definitely.
Yeah, way more farmers. And so High Desert Relief, they have their own grow. How big is their plant count?
So I actually just got the number the other day to make sure I was accurate. I don't know what the actual plant count is, but the amount of plants that we actively grow at one time is about 2,200 plants.
Okay.
So we have about 5 flowering rooms, 2 veg rooms, a mother room, and then a greenhouse that's separate than our regular grow facility. And yeah, that's how many we usually grow at one time. But obviously, it's a cycled process. We harvest one room, go on to the next room in 2 weeks type of thing, and keep it on the cycle.
Yeah, I got to do the perpetual. And some people don't understand perpetual harvests, and they just do all at once. And then they're like, now we got to wait 4 months.
Yep, and now I just got a ton of product that I got to move like that.
Yeah. Instead of me doing one room, figure it out, one room. Yeah. So some people are figuring it out. Some never did. But that's the beauty of this. It's this industry. There's so many different ways to do it.
Definitely. Yeah, we're great to have a indoor hydroponic facility. So that's where most of our bud comes from in the HDR respect. So it's really clean, really good bud. It's rock wool cubes, and they do use Athena nutrients. So for the most part, really solid brand.
Yeah.
A little bit on the light on the terp ends. That's kind of just what happens with Athena nutrients. But
I've been hearing that a lot. They used to be cardboard terps, is what I hear a lot. Yeah, the cardboard terps.
Yep.
I never experienced it with Athena News, but I have noticed, a little bit lighter on the terps.
Yeah, so, thankfully they've been working on it, but there's extra supplements that are coming in, third-party brands that are trying to sell supplements to increase the terp content and stuff like that.
Nice. And then actually recently, I went down a rabbit hole. So Rio Grande Analytics had a study out, and I'll probably bring this up later on this week for next week's episode. They were talking about chromosomes in plants. Us, we have 2, but plants can have 2. They can have odd ones 3 or 5, or they can have 16, or 12. And so those different ones with the different types of chromosomes bring out different characteristics. Certain ones will have higher THC, and then other ones they'll have higher terpenes, or another one will have better colors or something like that. So that's going to be interesting once they dive more into that. We'll kind of figure out, okay, what direction we're going to go with it. So I'll bring more of that up on the next episode, which actually be next week that we're filming this week.
All right. This week. Gotta check it out. Stay tuned, guys.
Yeah, stay tuned. So, so how many locations does High Desert have?
Currently, they got 2 locations in Albuquerque. They have 1 in Santa Fe, and we're working on 1 in Hobbs right now. And thankfully, my bosses just came to me and they're like, hey, we see the numbers that Sunland Park is pulling. What do you think about a store in Sunland Park or Las Cruces, that kind of area? And I've been just like, guys, please. I came from there. They need a store so bad over there. They would love one. The prices that we have, unlike most other dispensaries, they actually keep the prices standard across the board. So they wouldn't be increasing if they went to Sunland Park or something like that, which is really good for, the stores out there. With certain aspects, it's good for their stores out there. It's maybe not so good for the stores that are increasing prices over down there and stuff like that.
Yeah, and some of them are increasing them just for the fact that the Texans are going to pay it. Because I'll go to the same store, same owner in Cruces and in Sunland, and they have different prices. It's of course more expensive in Sunland. You're paying a premium down there, but it's good to see that you guys are going to keep it across the board. Because I'll go to Albuquerque, and their prices are night and day different from Sunland Park. And I'll
for sure.
Yeah.
And even the quality too. I remember back when I was working for, one of the dispensaries that I'll just keep nameless. They would send the super moldy product. You probably know exactly what I'm talking about because you covered this exact thing, but they'd send their super moldy product to Cruces and they would say don't worry, we'll sell it. They would upcharge for it in Cruces versus the regular good Primo bud that they'd be paying in Albuquerque. And the people would just buy it up there because there was only 3 or 4 dispensaries at the time, and it was all medical in Cruces. So, it kind of was what it was at the time. But yeah, no, I'm glad that doesn't happen with these guys.
Yeah, me too. You know, and another thing that was unfortunate, like during the Bloom Fiesta, they would actually take product from the South and send it up north because it was going to be so busy. And I'm like, that's crazy. You gotta be
Jeez.
shitting. It's like, screw us over just so you guys can, all right, whatever.
Yeah, for real. That's
Yeah.
insane, man.
Yeah, and then the people wonder why, you know, we have such a, not a hate, but, you know, there's still a bitterness in our mouth from, you know, the medical days with some of these businesses.
I know with the business that you guys have out there, with the amount of population that you guys have out there and the amount of business that you're driving for it, it's amazing that people are still like segregating you guys that far. Cruces in Sunland Park versus Albuquerque or the rest of the state.
It's wild because Sunland Park is its own thing. You know, even the people there, they live in their own little world. And they don't think anything else exists outside of it. Like, that's wild, y'all.
Yeah,
no one brings you past Hatch. You know, like,
yeah, for real.
Need to chill out. You know, they're like, who?
Yeah.
But like, you know, their cells, you know, if you look at the cells, of course you're going to know, but the cells don't lie in Sunland Park and Cruces, you know, and, you know, southern New Mexico. Don't get me wrong, Albuquerque sells a lot, but there's 3 million people within a 60-mile radius of Cruces. Like, that's insane.
Yeah.
Albuquerque can't even touch that.
Even Alamogordo gets like the Texas swing of patients through the sales that you would kind of not expect to see through that population level type of thing.
Yeah, and Alamogordo has a lot more dispensaries than I thought they would have, you know, from there originally. And so, you know, going through when I go visit my family, I'm like, this is wild. I never thought this conservative little town with more churches than anything would have dispensaries. Like, this is nuts.
For real, right?
Yeah. And I'm like, makes sense. All the Texans going to Ruidoso and everything, but, you know.
Yeah.
It's just funny to see, you know, like, I'm like, that's funny. That's wild.
Yeah, it's crazy to see the change, over time.
Oh, yeah, definitely, dude. So, but yeah, let's talk a little more about, you know, Outlaw Extracts. So what do you guys have planned for the future?
So obviously, you know, the growing demand in the solventless market, like I was talking about earlier, is something that's on every manufacturer's mind. I just was looking at 710 Labs as a great example, and Alien Labs, their Instagrams. They were recently talking, you know, like a year ago or so, that they're focusing on their solventless facilities. And while they still have their BHO and their distillate facilities, they're kind of gearing more towards that direction. And so that's kind of where I'm trying to take this brand personally. Obviously, we're still trying to, you know, do everything that we can do on the BHO side. So like liquid diamonds, live resin cartridges, you know, all of the facets that we can do that way. But eventually I'd really like to get into the solventless market, maybe even do some like traditional hash, some like temple balls or something like that. A lot of people want to see more of those style products on the market. And yeah, I'd love to be the people to try to bring them in.
Heck yeah, dude, that'd be cool. And I like the fact that, you know, we experimented with other extracts. We were like, oh, this does this, but now we're kind of going back to a natural way, you know, like a natural extract. I kind of like that. You know?
Definitely, like a whole plant extract too, for sure.
Yeah, and we kind of figured out that just THC isn't everything. You know, you need more in it than just THC. And I think that's really what the consumer is starting to figure out too.
For sure, yeah. And thankfully, we're starting to move in that direction as well with our company.
Yeah, 100%. And real quick, why 2 brands? You know, why didn't they just want to stay HDR for the extract side too? You know, was it just something fun, or, you know, was it a reason?
So a little bit of the fun, because we kind of had a little bit of what I would say like a stale brand kind of before. Their logo is, you know, a little bit. It's just like the HDR. There's not, you know, a whole lot kind of going on with it. And they've kept this simplistic brand for the longest time. They've been that way for, you know, the past 10 years. So we didn't want to change that brand too much. But we also wanted to have like a new kind of design, a fun little logo, maybe like a background story and stuff like that. And we also see in these more mature markets that trying to get one store's product into a different store with the brand of that original store is a lot harder, rather than having like a third-party facility that you could get, that you don't have to white label everything. You could put that third-party logo into your store without feeling like you're, you know, just helping another store or you're promoting another brand or something like that, because that can still be the brand for you guys as well. Because that's really where we're trying to take this, is while we are trying to supply our own stores, HDR and stuff like that, we are trying to take it to other stores as well and trying to push these products further and further. So that's what we are keeping in mind when we went with the 2 brand option.
Dope. Yeah, and I like the branding. You know, I thought it was a good move. I agree with you in all of that, you know, because, you know, they were very simplistic. You know, it was the medical days. They didn't have to be flashy. You know, it just had
for
to be.
Sure.
So, yeah, I like the fact that, you know, yeah, we're going to keep it the same, but on this side we're gonna change it a little bit. I like that, the branding of it. Outlaw. New Mexico, we're known for the whole outlaw lifestyle.
That's exactly where we were trying to go with it. Yeah.
Yeah, we're it's just New Mexico, and I was like, I dig it. The whole branding, the logo, the way it looks is just very New Mexico. I really dig it. It was New Mexico without being typical New Mexico, if that makes sense.
Definitely, no, for sure, exactly. That's what we were trying to do. He's kind of like a little. How do you say? Like cybernetic kind of
like a cyber
outlaw. Yeah, that's kind of where we took some inspiration from for his character kind of design. And yeah, everybody's been saying they love the logo, they love the look, the feel of the cartridges and all of the products and the logo in general. I was gonna pull out one of our cartridges.
All right, check it out. Let's check it out.
This is one of the live resin cartridges that we're actually putting out right now, which we found a really good way to separate the terpene layer from the THC layer and decarb just the THC basically separately, so that it's minimal terpene degradation and it's minimal color loss. So it's actually not as dark as you would expect a normal live resin cartridge, or at least as I expected a normal live resin. It's kind of hard to differentiate between the distillate and the live resin ones. But I personally really like the wooden tops that we have going. Usually I'm not super into it, but I feel like it really works with this brand, kind of giving the old Western kind of feel to it all. And yeah, that's kind of what we got going on right now. That's like our newest kind of product that we're pushing out right now.
Like that black and mild kind of feel.
Yeah, a little bit of a black and mild type of feel. Exactly. Kind of gives into the whole outlaw like aspect of it.
Yeah, 100%, dude. Yeah, I dig it. And what is your favorite product? Speaking of, the products, what's your favorite one that you guys are making?
Probably right now, it's either just the live resin wax that we personally have or the live resin cartridges that we're starting to put out with that same live resin wax. Obviously, you can't beat the terpene profile that you're going to be getting off of a live resin versus a cured or even a distillate pen with various flavors and stuff like that. But yeah, me, I've always been kind of a wax head. A lot of people tend to be gearing towards our edibles, our cookies specifically. We have these like chocolate mint cookies that are very reminiscent of like Thin Mints, and people have been going crazy for those.
Oh, dude, yeah, I've been seeing. I looked on the Instagram, I saw the cookies and stuff like that. I was like, oh, those look good. I like that.
Yeah,
I'm curious because I've been seeing this in the market more. Drinks. Do you guys kind of do any drinks yet?
Oh, I am trying to push it so hard right now. Let me tell you what. To be able to get drinks, basically, there's a couple different ways of doing it, but most of the time people do what's called like nano emulsification, which essentially you buy a machine that can push your, usually distillate is what people put into their drinks. So they would put the distillate oil and it would feed in the distillate oil through like super, super small holes, kind of similar to like a coffee filter you can kind of imagine. And it basically forces the distillate through these small holes and it separates the distillate into super small molecules and disperses it through the water or something like that. And that's how you would get the drinks. But ultimately, without getting into the science too much, I would really like to get into those drinks, but at the moment we don't have that capability to do that. But we are looking into doing it to diversify ourselves a little bit more and get onto those newer markets that are expanding further.
Yeah, because just what I do. Just throughout my time of talking to people, researching and stuff, I'm starting to see drinks pop up more, and I kind of feel I won't say it would be the sole feature of cannabis, but 30 years from now, I kind of feel that'll be one of the major ways that we consume cannabis is through drinks. And to be honest, it's one of the only ways that we're not going to offend people at a festival or something like that. If you're just drinking versus smoking.
Yeah.
No one's going to bitch at me for drinking cannabis versus
or even eating an edible. It's a lot more discreet or socially acceptable, I guess, to a certain degree.
And I kind of feel the consumption areas will always be a thing, blah, blah, blah. But it'll be easier for you to go out into the crowd or whatever with the drink versus, with the joint and everything. And that is, sure. No one's going to be trying to smoke your freaking drink.
Yeah. Nobody's going to try to be like, hey, let me get some of that, man. Like, no.
It's like, no. I really liked COVID because no one was asking me to smoke my joint. I loved it. I was like, oh, yeah. Great. I love that. It was pretty awesome. So yeah.
And now we're out of it and everybody's back to it. Like, hey, let me try some of that. Yeah, especially with cartridges too. Like cartridges just like sitting in your pocket or just like going around with you all the time. They can hold so much bacteria if you let other people interact with them and stuff like that.
Looks like there's a market for cart cleaning. Awesome, man. So, I mean, that's pretty much all the questions I have for you guys. So, where can the people find you guys online and in person?
Yeah, so currently you can find us on Instagram under Outlaw Extracts NM. We also have our High Desert Relief pages, the HDR Grow, hdrburque for the store page, and I think another one for Santa Fe. You can find us on our websites, which is highdesertrelief.org or outlawextractsnm.com. And yeah, for the most part, we're fully updated on Instagram. You can find some of our Outlaw products. Let me see. I think we're in Los Alamos, Farmington, Milan, and like Tucumcari. You can find them at Fireflower, Lucent, Arrive, The Grass Station, Uncle Roy's, Albuquerque Craft Cannabis, and Buds and More. And obviously High Desert Relief as well.
Awesome. So you're more north, but you guys are around the state. So I can't wait to see you guys come south.
Oh, I definitely want to get there as soon as I can. Yeah, trying to meet new vendors every day down there. And if you needed to reach out, you can find me at Brandon, BRANDON, at Outlaw Extracts, or I'm sorry, at highdesertrelief.org.
You should change it to short hair, Brandon.
Short hair Brandon. Yeah, I know. Put a photo in there so everybody knows. Maybe put the long hair one next to so that they can have a little side by side.
Yeah, so I get it. Okay, it's the same guy.
Yeah, it's the same guy.
Yeah, well, thank you so much, Brandon. I appreciate it. I look forward to continuing this conversation. But that's HDR and Outlaw Extracts. Longtime people decided to start a new brand. So thank you so much, and I'll be looking forward to those drinks, brother.
Yeah, of course, got to get them out there. Well, I'll let you know. You'll be the first one when I get them out there.
Heck yeah, man! I appreciate it. So we're gonna move on. We're gonna change topics. We're actually going to go back and talk about the border patrol checks, the in-state ones, the inland ones, the ones we hate, the ones that are like everywhere down here in Las Cruces. I know y'all up north don't deal with it at all, but you have a lot of experience dealing with them because you've lived down here for so long. So, that's awesome. The fact that, you actually understand, because some people, when I tell them about it up north, it's just like I'm speaking Greek to them. And they're like,
yeah. They're like an out-of-state person. They're like, what do you mean a border patrol check? Like, what even is that? Like,
why were you going to Mexico?
Yeah.
That question. I'm like, I didn't. Like, what the hell?
Yeah, that's not how that works. There's like 3 of them surrounding all of the lower cities.
Right. It's like, I live in Mexico and you guys don't. What the hell?
Yeah.
So, a little update on this. If you guys know, they've been seizing cannabis for months now. Started in February. It looks like our Congressman Gabe Vasquez stepped in a little bit, and he's going to try a simple and temporary fix, which could be as soon as August that would go through, or September. So what this is essentially defunding the Border Patrol in a sense. And what it does is it doesn't allow the Border Patrol to use any funding on state legal cannabis. The cool thing about this is this applies to all states, not just New Mexico. This is happening just in New Mexico, but there's many other states that are actually in jeopardy of this happening, not just California and Arizona, Michigan, or Washington, even Montana and states like that. Any state near a border is subject to this, even Hawaii. Hawaii, the whole state is within the boundaries of the Border Patrol. There's nowhere within the islands that's past that 100-mile barrier. So the whole islands, the Border Patrol can have a heyday on, and it's a little scary, to be honest. And there's no border checks there because, come on, they're going to see you coming from somewhere.
Right.
So luckily, they don't have to deal with that. But if the Border Patrol really wanted, they could probably set up a little check somewhere on the island if they really wanted.
That's interesting. Dang, I didn't know it was like that in those other states as well.
Yeah, they did it in Florida. One of the places in Florida, they try to become their own country. So Border Patrol said, okay, if you're your own country, we're going to put a border check on the little bridge. That's the only way in and out. And so they had a little feud with the Border Patrol for a few months. So yeah, this isn't the only time or first time Border Patrol has done something like this. So he introduced this as an amendment into the fiscal year 25 appropriations legislation. It covers Department of Homeland Security, or DHS. So it's pretty much DHS's funding. And so it's that bill that goes into their funding. And I believe it starts in September. So if this bill does go through, and this amendment goes through, gets attached to the budget, then we may see some changes very quickly. This is something that we've talked about before in the past to defund them, essentially, to not just allow them to use funding for this, because if there's no funding, they can't do anything. Their hands are tied if they have no money. No one wants to work for free. So yeah, right.
That's interesting. Yeah,
it is. It's an interesting tactic. I don't know how far it's going to go, how well it's going to work, et cetera, et cetera. Like I said, we haven't really tested these waters with the Border Patrol yet. So, I mean, what is your thought?
I mean, that's how we get change, man. We got to test the waters somehow to see how this can all work. So unfortunately, we have to work with the federal government, no matter how tricky they make it sometimes. If that's the way that it has to get through to be able to give us the freedom that we need to drive these businesses through, to drive this product through these checkpoints, or to just to have less, federal oversight on all of it, then that's kind of what needs to happen, in my opinion. Hopefully it doesn't have to go super drastically where we fully pull funding or whatnot. But if that's what has to happen to make it all work, then that's kind of what has to happen in that sense.
Yeah. And it's great that, our own congressman, our own representative is doing it. Gabe Vasquez was actually a city councilor here in Las Cruces. Spoke with him many times, really wise. He's pretty young to be in Congress, but, he's very wise, knows his stuff. And so it's great that he is fighting for us still, out in Washington, D.C., because that's where they all are. The federal side, that's where they all are. And I'm not talking to you, I'm talking to the audience and everything. Sometimes people have no clue how our government works. And so I try to educate them a little bit. But
wow, I didn't know Gabe Vasquez moved up that far, though. That's really good. I think I remember him being on the city council when we were kind of around that same era, like we were talking. So that's really good that he moved out that far and that he's still kind of supporting us in the ways that he can.
Actually, that day I saw you at the city council when I found out that you worked for them. I was actually speaking with him on another issue. It was right before he ran for Congress. So yeah, it was interesting. It's kind of cool to be like, yeah, my city councilor turned into a congressman.
Yeah, I know that guy. Yeah,
I remember that guy. Yeah, he taught me a lot too. So I appreciate it, and I appreciate him fighting for us, like this.
Definitely.
Because right now, the Border Patrol has seized over $500,000 worth of cannabis product in the state. And the reason why I'm saying that is because if you tax that at our 20% rate, that's $100,000 that we lost as a whole state, the tax revenue. So that's money they took away from our roads, from our education, from everything that we could probably possibly send that to. And that was from the city and county too. So the city and county lost all that money too, because that 20% includes city and county. So the whole state lost out on $100,000, also Las Cruces and the county of Doña Ana. So that's why I'm trying to say the urgency on this. It's not just the cannabis business is losing, it's us as a whole. Every time this happens, we lose. And we're losing to our own federal government. That's why this is.
Yeah, and there's no freaking reason for that. It's like that meme where it was like, wait a second, this was all your idea. This is how this started.
Yeah, I was like, wait, what the hell? Why are you going after us? And they're talking about fentanyl or whatever. I'm like, yeah, we're not in the fentanyl business though. What does this have to do with fentanyl? This is legal cannabis. And so, and this will hopefully be kind of a little workaround for it, whatever, because, the mom and pops are the ones that really suffer. Every time a mom and pop gets popped, their likeliness of being around the next couple months goes down drastically.
Yep.
Just losing a $5,000 shipment could be drastic, could be devastating to a mom.
For sure.
Yeah, and some of them has said, they have been mom and pops, and they said that this could possibly be the end of it. I don't know if we can come back from this.
That's where 90% of our wholesale sales come from, is just small mom and pop shops who are just trying to make it through. And the oversaturation in the market doesn't really help with everybody just trying to lower their prices as far as they can. And, profit margins just getting slimmer and slimmer every day. Having something like that hit you also on top of all of that other stuff, it makes owning a business really, really tough for sure.
Yeah, it does. And it's not fair. We're legal businesses within our state. We haven't broke any state laws. Just the only thing that's the hang up is the federal government will not catch up to the rest of the states. We're at almost half of the states having recreational cannabis. We're at 24 right now. One more and, we're over half. And so, we're over half. And at that point, it's like, all right, what's the point? Why are we keeping this illegal when over half of the states have said we will allow people 21 and over to use cannabis? What is the point?
I mean, honestly, when the medical market tipped over that 25 threshold, I was at that point wondering, why not at this point? They're all saying, we could have at least a medical market for the entire nation. But, once rec hits over 25, then it's stupid why we're not.
And we're falling behind. You know, Germany has legal cannabis now. There's African countries that are looking at legal cannabis. Thailand, unfortunately, is trying to go the other way. But I think it's because they didn't intend it to be what it was. And it turned into something totally different. I think if they went into it with the intent that we're going to have a legal cannabis industry, it's going to be this, I think it would have went a little different. But people, I think, abuse the medicalness of the way it's set up. And I think that's what really ended it for Thailand. Unfortunately, maybe something will change and they can change something up in the future, but that experiment unfortunately went terrible.
And it's kind of interesting to see like similar styles play out in different states. Like when you were talking about Thailand right now, I didn't really know too much about their market, but based on the sounds of it, it kind of sounds similar to Oklahoma in the sense that like they had a really prolific medical market, and so they just never went into the rec market and they never really established that side or anything like that. And like that's good for Oklahoma or whatever, but I think something like a third or a quarter of their citizens are medical patients or something like that. But there's like no adult use or some weird kind of guidelines on their market as far as last time I checked.
And they have like a ridiculously alarming amount of illegal grows, and most of them come from China or like China ran farms.
Dude,
it blows my mind.
There's this like 20 greenhouse facility like an hour outside of Albuquerque that I was just hearing about that is just completely being taken over by Chinese immigrants, and the company that is coming in is ran by China, and they're just like doing the super cheapest like grows that they can do. And it's crazy how much of the Chinese influence is coming into all of the medical markets and all of the cannabis markets in general.
Yeah, and it's not just Oklahoma. You know, they've infiltrated here for years. I mean, what they try to do is they try to go on native land, so the state can't do anything. It would take the tribe and the federal government to do something to shut them down. And so that's the hang up on some of these places. And that's the issue here in New Mexico. Because the guy that got popped for having the illegal Chinese workers and treating them like shit, he's still operating to this day. That nothing's happened. The state can't do anything to him because he's on native land. And that's the unfortunate part. Yeah. So when certain things like that happen, they usually try to cover their ass by being on sovereign land like that. And that's really shitty because they're jumping around everything. You know, they don't have to abide by state laws at that point. You know, they're going by their own laws.
That's rough. Yeah. That adds a whole new hiccup to try to deal with people who are, operating unlawfully or doing, X, Y, and Z to get whatever they need out.
Yeah, 100%. And, we'll see, if something, changes on that front, especially for us with this whole Border Patrol issue. I know we got off a little bit on it, but, it's still within topic because, these are all very important because, if we don't do it right, we're going to end up with issues. And this whole China infiltrating states thing, and I do feel that this is something that I need to cover again here soon. I probably will in the next couple of weeks, probably when I come back from Hawaii. I'll do a whole, segment on, the Chinese takeover of the grows and stuff like that, because I just keep seeing it more and more, and that you can't be ignored. I was just waiting for more information in New Mexico, but I'm like, you know what, this is a national issue. I need to talk about it. Yeah. So, but yeah, us here in New Mexico, hopefully we'll get a fix, temporary fix with this whole Border Patrol issue, and maybe the Border Patrol back off a little bit because we're the only state that they're doing this to, and it's unfortunate because our state is one of the only states that we have to take stuff north or south to make money because there's so many people at the different polars, at the different poles of New Mexico. You have the northern hub and the southern hub, and they have a ton of people and a ton of sales. Unfortunately, they're 3 to 4 hours apart, and they're separated between a freaking border check that makes no sense.
I was thinking about it for like our end. If we were trying to offer extraction services for somebody down south, you couldn't even bring your product up, which automatically means if you open a lab down there, you could just upcharge just for the fuck of it because like nobody else is going to be doing it. So same thing for everything, like a testing lab, extraction lab, or rosin press, or those kinds of manufacturing facilities as well.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And we usually try to hook people up when we were doing the hash rosin. We understood we're from the South, but if someone else wanted to take advantage of it, they told me. 100% could. And finally, we just got a testing facility. Rio Grande Analytics finally came down. So we finally have a testing facility down here. Thank God.
Nice. I know.
Yeah, that
really helps
a little bit. Yeah, that helps quite a bit, actually. Let me rephrase that. But I really wanted to read you guys what the amendment says, and then we'll wrap up the conversation with, what's going to happen with it. So the amendment, this is how it reads. None of the funds made available by this act may be used to seize cannabis or cannabis containing cannabis that are possessed, sold, or transferred by a cannabis distributor licensed by a state or a business in a state where cannabis has been legalized for recreational use, recreational or medicinal use, excuse me. So pretty much what it's saying is they're just, if you're in a legal state, they can't fuck with you. The only thing that's kind of my hang up is sold or transferred. Okay, so sold or transferred, that's fine. Where I was kind of confused is the distributor, because New Mexico doesn't have distributor licenses. So I was like, I hope that won't screw us over, but it says sold or transferred, which is fine. Here in New Mexico, we do transfers. So he did cover all the bases on that. I hope this passes. There's a competition though. There's only one of these amendments that can make it to it, and there's another one in the same committee that is competing with it, and that's the one that will bar pretty much federal entities from drug testing you for cannabis. So those are two major things. I kind of feel the Border Patrol thing needs to happen first, because states aren't losing money from people getting positive drug tests versus New Mexico losing, we're probably going to lose $1 million by the time this is fixed, every time we try to ship up north. So I wanted to read you guys that, let you know where it's at, where it's going to be. The committee should be meeting sometime next week. I'll see if I can get that link up. I'll be in Hawaii, so I don't know if I'll be able to watch it, but I'll try to get the link up for you guys. Maybe you guys can update me and tag me, and then I'll share it. How about that?
Hey, that's a different twist to the whole thing. Yeah.
Right. You share with me, then I'll share with everyone else. How about that? So we'll get the whole advocacy thing going. So maybe we'll get some relief, but that's all I had for this conversation. Do you have anything on this before we move on?
No, man. I mean, I think, like I just said before, we definitely got to find a fix to it to make it work. So if that's kind of what it takes, we got to check it out and see if it works for our state, and then we can go from there.
Yeah, and hopefully this will be a fix for everybody, because
hopefully it does.
Yeah, even Michigan's like, are we in jeopardy too? Because they're number one now. They beat California itself.
Dang,
yeah,
really?
So California's not king anymore. It's Michigan. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, things are changing, man.
That's insane. Yeah, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, the shift is happening, and it's happening fast. So we're going to move on to the next and last conversation. And this one's interesting because I've talked about this many times that New Mexico needs to do this. So speaking of California, they do tend to do things kind of ballsy and, kind of, I wouldn't say better, but there's certain things that they do that other states should do first. And this one is the California State Fair is going to not just have cannabis there, because the last few years they've had an exhibit where you can look at cannabis and stuff. They're actually going to have sales and consumption on site at that same area, which I thought was cool as shit and fan-fucking-tastic. It's been a long time coming. You can get alcohol literally anywhere and everywhere. I can't think of a function, even, cannabis involved, where some kind of alcohol isn't involved. And to be honest, it's a time that changes, and I'm glad that something like this is happening. New Mexico our legislature does understand that something like this needs to happen in New Mexico. It's just going to take all of us to fight for it to get it in there. And our best bet is this next 60-day legislative session. I'm going to be pushing for it. I've been pushing for it this whole time, but we need sales and we need consumption at events. I'm sorry, it just needs to happen.
For sure.
Yeah.
That's where a lot of the money for our state comes in. It's just out of state people or in-state people, going to these recreational events, and being able to have cannabis as a market there would definitely be where we need to go. Yeah. I remember working back when I was working with Ultra Health, and back when they first took a plant to the state fair, and just that whole thing that kind of happened with that, and they finally fought to be able to get a plant there. So I'm really happy to see this California State Fair thing going through. This is the first time I've heard of it.
Yeah. It just came out right before the show. Actually, I was like, perfect, got my topic.
There we go.
So they're going to have a 30,000 square foot consumption area within that 21 and over exhibit area. And then they're going to have a QR code available so you can buy products. The only hang up that I have that I didn't like is it's only one company that's going to be providing the cannabis. Yeah, right.
Isn't that how it always goes, man?
That's how it always goes. Yeah. So the name of the company is Embarc, EMBARC. They're California based. I looked them up. It seems like they have good reviews on Google, but as we found out the other day, dispensaries ask for good reviews for free products. So that's very misleading. So you can't really go off of Google reviews these days just for the sole fact. If you look in your area here in New Mexico and you look at the dispensaries, they'll most likely have a 4.5 to 5-star rating because of that. Here at Crucis, I couldn't find anything under 4.5.
Yeah,
like
especially in like California, they are really good about marketing themselves in every aspect. California, you know, they market their people as celebrities. They market their like companies as like prime software companies or whatever other type of thing out there. And you know, they're really good at marketing cannabis and marketing everything in that aspect.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the packaging that we see here in New Mexico is based off of California packaging. You know, if you look at it, Headspace being one, you know, that they use a lot of heavy California coloring and schemes. You know, it reminds me of California. I don't know if that was their intent, but in the end, it does remind me a lot of, you know, the California branding and packaging.
Yeah.
So I mean,
a lot of the packaging reminds me so much of out-of-state packaging that sometimes they have out-of-state THC logos on their packaging still. Weird how that reminds me so well of that.
Weird you bring that up. Right. Yeah, that's an issue that we've been tackling this whole time too, and I've covered it many times, and I'm sure I'll cover it more in the future, because it's something that's just not going away. People are just not wanting to do the right thing, and you can't put the sticker over the CA sticker, guys. I'm sorry, that's illegal. You know, that's wrong. You can't do it.
Yeah, we have the CCD come by our facility, you know, every year, twice a year, what have you. And every single time they come through, they're always like, you guys are the ones who are dotting your I's. And like, we literally create the guide off of like what you guys are doing. Because our bosses are so to the T and just making sure like we're following every single little thing. Before we got our Outlaw Extracts products on the market, we had to thoroughly go through our labels and make sure everything was checked mark off of what we needed.
Yeah, definitely. And these days, a lot of people are getting around. Well, not getting around. They're making their life easier on the labeling by adding the QR code. So you can add the QR code on there, and they'll have additional information or other information that's required, because you can just scan it. Now you want to make sure that QR code is accurate, you know, because if it's not, then you run into some issues. So there's that. But you know, I digress a little bit. You know, we'll get back to the topic at hand. You know, I kind of feel that New Mexico, this is something that we're going to need to do next, and something that we will do next. You know, we did go before on the consumption lounge thing. You know, most states didn't have consumption lounges. You know, we kind of went forth on it. It's still wonky. It still needs some work. It's still a lot harder to get a consumption lounge than I feel it should be. But, you know, I kind of feel that maybe we can take this and do it better. Maybe instead of having one cannabis company there, we allow several cannabis companies there, just like a wine festival. You know, you go in, you have all these wine companies, and you can go in and take a sample. You know, like and
that's the whole point of the wine festivals, is to show off all these other businesses or these different types of wines that you could try, and just kind of further the culture in that aspect.
And maybe we'll just piss them off and just have it cannabis drinks. There'll be no smoking testing, because what's a better way to piss them off by doing something that they can't get mad at?
Yeah, that's the best way to get change through.
Yeah, you know, if we have an event with nothing but drinks, they can't get mad at smoking.
Yeah,
we weren't smoking. It was just drinks. It's just like
there
the
you
wine
go.
fest. Why be mad at us? We didn't do anything.
You guys set the rules. We followed them. Like,
yeah, exactly. So this is going to be interesting. If you're interested in going, I have the dates here, July 12th to 28th. So you have over 2 weeks to actually do this. Sales are going to be from 11 a.m. to 9 o'clock at night. And then the consumption area is going to be open from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. at night. So that's cool. A little bit after, you know, closing. So you could get your consumption in. We'll see how this goes. It's cool because no children be granted access. So, you know, you won't hear the whole, oh, what about our children thing, this and that you always hear about. But, you know, you have people vaping and smoking cigarettes in front of kids like nothing. So, you know, it's one of those things, that stigmas that we still have to fight to this day. I do feel that smoking won't always be the number one way to consume. I kind of feel it'll be number two in the future. Will it be still one of the more popular ones? Of course. You know, that's never going to go away. Tobacco smoking still happens, you know. So will cannabis smoking still happen? Of course. Maybe in the future people will gawk at it more. I don't know. It doesn't smell as bad as tobacco, so it's not as bad as ugly as a habit. I see, to some people, sure, it might be. But for the most part, from what I see, someone would rather have someone smoke weed versus tobacco, you know, in that sense. And
for the most part, it's kind of shifting towards that.
Yeah, it is. And who knows, it might shift the other way where both, you know, smoking anything is just seen as gross and whatever, you know, consume your cannabis a different way. But we'll see, you know, the future's weird, you know, and it's hard to predict.
No, I'm sorry. I was just going to say that it's crazy to see that this is a 2+ week long fair. for the state fair over in California that presents a lot of opportunity for new people getting into the market or just trying different products and stuff like that, and the cannabis aspect of it.
Yeah. And you know what? It'll open it up more to the country folk, because I don't know how many cowboys I know smoke weed. Like pretty much every cowboy I know smokes weed. And so they want to partake too. So maybe the country folk can kind of be a little more open to being out there with the city folk and getting together, and we can all kind of get along for a little bit.
For once, right?
We can all get along for a couple hours. We'll see. We'll all bond together with with cannabis. This is cool. I also wanted to mention that the reason why I'm mentioning this too is because I was contacted by the Southern New Mexico State Fair representative here, and she was trying to get vendors, like just regular cannabis vendors, no selling, just do a pop-up there, sell some merch, tell people about your brand. And she wanted to get that going. So I know that New Mexico has a thirst for it, because even the state fair here in Cruces is trying to do something like that. I don't know if it got voted. I gotta talk to her again, see how it went. We actually met together, kind of strategized, because she had a meeting with these guys. I'm thinking it didn't go well because she hit me up for more information. But it's good that someone's fighting for it. And if we can get that, it'll be a game changer. Maybe I'll send this to her and be, hey, look, maybe this would be a way to give you a little fuel to your fire, because California's selling shit. Now, in New Mexico, it's going to take some law changes for us to do the consumption and the sales on site. But like I said, the legislature acknowledges the fact that this does need to happen in the future, and it's something that we do want as consumers and in industry. So as long as we keep pushing and fighting for it, I think we'll get it. And to be honest, if we all band together soon, it'll happen sooner than later.
For sure.
Hopefully we can, and I'll keep everybody posted on it. I just thought this was cool. It's a good change. It's a good shift. It's fair because so far they've been kind of keeping us in a basement. And I've heard legislators say, oh, well, I just see cannabis as something that you use at home and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I see alcohol as something to use at home. Like, why should you be able to use that and then go home or drive, at all?
For real, yeah. The double standard, be real.
A big double standard. I can't go to the movies. I can't go any sporting event above high school without alcohol being pushed on me. Not available, pushed.
Pushed.
Yeah, like hard. I'll go to the hockey game in El Paso, and they'll have $2 beers. When something happens, $1 beer, $2 beer. I'm like, holy shit. If you said, $1 grams, you guys would lose your fucking minds.
Yeah, for real.
The dangerous marijuana user. Yeah. So, yeah, we just need to start acknowledging the fact that we do have an alcohol issue, and we need to stop sweeping it under the rug and allowing it to be this silent addiction. And it hurts our state, and it hurts everyone around you. There's a study that just came out that opioids and alcohol harm more people with their use versus cannabis secondhand smoke. So an alcoholic, if he's an alcoholic, that affects the whole family. That affects everybody around him. If they're an opioid user, same thing. Especially when that person passes away, it affects the whole family, even to the years later. So that's very true. And maybe one day we can all get on the same page and stop giving cannabis this terrible. So I'll end it with that. That's all I have for this week. That's all I have for that topic. Brandon, thank you so much for joining me, man. I can't wait to have you on again, and can't wait to hang out with you 710, catch up a little bit. And,
definitely, man.
Yeah, maybe we'll try some Outlaw Extracts.
Yeah, can't wait to see you there. Thank you for having me.
Of course, man. And, it's been a great conversation. And I will see you guys when I get back from Hawaii. So I will see you guys for the next episode. I'm filming another one on Friday. It'll come out Wednesday. I'll be probably on the beach, hopefully fishing. Thursday. Oh, yeah, Thursday. I got my days all mixed up. I'm busy. So, yeah, my show's coming out on Thursday. So I will see you guys in a couple weeks. Well, you'll see me, but you won't see me. So I'll see you guys here soon. Thank you, Brandon. And it's going to be great. I'm out. See you guys.